Lovely. Shows me I probably couldn't do anything. So yeah, yeah, not bad. I mean, nothing much going on given the lockdown bit, but just buying rum and drinking. I mean, it's England. It's they basically they invented the clouds. Like it's cloudy all the time. Yeah, not great.
Okay. So I think that was it. So Alex, I'm gonna have to give you that intro again here. So we'll go back to see if we've got our some of our I think our sounds are back to normal, hopefully. So
No problem.
so all right, let's jump over to the chat here. Let's just take a look, see if folks are saying anything. Super staticky. Okay. Okay. Sounds like we can. I think we got some sound going. All right. We'll give this a go again here. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. So hey all, Paul from Drums and Rums with the Backbeats Meets the Spirits, episode number 31. On this podcast, you wanted the rums, you got the rums. Our first rum reviewer blogger. He's a cocktail bartender and rum enthusiast based in Oxford, UK. Besides being decent at making shots and his ability to drink shots like a champ, he also has a passion for the sugarcane distillate, which for a while he expressed by posting pictures and short tasting notes on social media. 1 year ago, he expanded and started writing on his own website, the Rum Barrel. And while he mostly reviews, he also has managed to write a couple of articles. Please welcome to the podcast UK rum blogger and reviewer Alex Sandu from the Rum Barrel. So good morning.
Hello.
Hey, Alex. So I'm just waking. Most of us that are watching from the States, and myself included, are just waking up. So I guess it's good morning to those of you, and good afternoon to those tuning in from the UK and Europe. So
Are you gonna be drinking then?
yeah, so I guess
Early.
it's an early start for me, I guess, right? So Alex, give a little bit of you want to give a little more introduction about yourself and the Rum Barrel?
I mean, that's that's fairly accurate. I'm a bartender. I started as a bartender, and then I just ended up really loving rum, and then starting interacting with people online, posting, uh, asking for attention for my bottles, and then from there on, I just started reading more about it and sharing whatever I learned via social media. So that's how the rum barrel came to be. Some
Cool.
people pushed me to do it as well, so thank you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Long story short.
Right. And sometimes it's good that it's those that kind of encourage us to do things that we may not be ready to, comfortable, or that good to have that sense of encouragement with people around you. So
Yeah,
that's
the feedback was really positive when I started, so yeah, it just kept me going. Why not?
excellent.
I was doing something right, so yeah, hopefully I still will.
So you've been involved with, I guess how'd you get involved with rum? And as you mentioned there in the intro, you make cocktails, you are a bartender. So how'd you get into rum and or the rum industry, and how'd you get to before even the website?
Um, well, as a bartender, we did drink quite a bit, and most of the places, most of the other bars or my own bar, most of the time we were like, let's say, have a shot because that's normal for us. Just
Right.
have a shot anytime. Most of the time it was rum. So every time I was like, "Oh, would you like a shot of rum?" And it would be rude to say no. So I just kept acquiring a taste for it. Don't get me wrong, it's the kind of sweetest, like sweeter rum. But yeah, it's what appeals, and I really liked it, and I really got into it. And then one mate at work brought a bottle of Diplomatico, which is quite sweet, and I just fell in love with it. And from there on, I just started exploring more and more.
So so that's great. So kind of is it like a like, I don't know if you call it like kind of like an apprenticeship or on the job.
Yeah, yeah. There was always the guys I was working with. There was, let's say, there was a whiskey guy. There was someone that really loved tequila. There's someone that really loved vodka. So I just said I'll be the rum guy of the team. So
You
I
just
was like, I'll
you
take
just
one for
raised
the
your
team.
hand and said, I'll do it."
Yeah, exactly. That was me. Yeah, pick me. Yeah, no problem.
Right. So the so that's I know it's, as mentioned, in the UK and still all over the world. There's all different levels of lockdown, and so the place you work at, I think we were talking earlier that the main pub is closed, but they have another one that's a little bit more have an outside setting.
Yeah. So the main bar, which is Raoul's, it's a tiny, tiny cocktail bar. But that was the start of the company I work for, and that's the main kind of, I don't know. It's the most popular, has the most, like, the most spread image, if it makes sense. And yeah, we had to close in the very first lockdown. I think that was in March, if I remember correctly. So we had to close it then, and since then it's been closed. Well, ongoing. It's still closed because it's a small venue. It's too small to accommodate with the new regulations and all that.
Right.
So we just focused our efforts on the other two pubs we have in the company. So basically, everyone from the bar is working at one of the pubs, just pouring pints all day and chatting with the customers and all that.
So it's I it's good, and you got to do what you unfortunately have to do, but with at least something's still going.
No, yeah, it's still there. It's not
Right.
closed for good.
Right.
We're still like, we're literally working on it to refurbish some stuff while we're closed. So we're hoping to open back up with a new vibe, better and yeah, better improved. So let's see when that's gonna happen. And
Okay.
I'm looking forward.
Cool. Cool. So, um, so when you've learned this at there and got into it and raised your hand and wanted to be the rum guy, how do you get a sense, or how do you get a nose for, or the taste, or how to describe rums, right? It's Most people know that there's something there. It's usually probably the most person that doesn't know how to discern certain flavors is, other than just that they know it tastes alcohol, or strong, or something, but they don't know it
Yeah.
might be certain things that go into it, or even the wood that it might be even aged in.
Well, to be honest, the the most important bit is, and I know how it sounds, but drink a lot, basically. So just accustom your palate with the alcohol taste, and then once you get past that and feel all the flavors and aromas and everything, you just can try and associate it with different, I don't know, memories, for example, or maybe train your palate and trying different flavors yourself. Like, let's say, smell cinnamon and then try to smell the rum, see if you feel the cinnamon in there or anything like that. I was quite lucky because as I said, I work in a cocktail bar, so we have different flavors all over the place, from bitters to spices to liqueurs, juices. So a huge array of flavors that I could use in my nosing and tasting experiences. Because I more than often I'll write down, oh yeah, it tastes like white cacao liqueur or Luxardo liqueur or something like that.
Right.
People don't usually use that on a daily basis, but for me, it makes a lot of sense. It really depends on your background as well and what you've tasted beforehand. So yeah,
Yeah, and that's something I'm still trying to get better about, or to learn some of those. I think I need to take like a tasting course or something to that effect. And there's certain things, yeah, you can tell that there's certain hints at certain things, but probably not as well as you. And with a lot of the samplings and reviews that you do, that where you're picking out those different uh, tastes, do you already go into it already knowing what it may have in it, or do you just try to approach it from let me find out and on my own?
I mean, it's really hard to go completely blind when you know most of the brands or how they're made or where they come from. Like, probably the best scenario would be when someone made a blend, for example, and you don't know what's in the blend, so you have no idea what to expect. But if you know this rum comes from Barbados or this rum comes from Guyana, you
Right,
kind of have a rough idea what will be in there anyway. But it's still like still gonna be different. It's not gonna be exactly what you're expecting.
right,
So
right.
yeah, can't really exactly go blind unless someone actually gives me a blind sample and be like, okay, what's this? I'll be like, no pressure, try guess now. But yeah,
So
I
yeah,
always have a rough idea.
right, and I've mentioned before, and again, I only because I've tried different ones, and then of course research a little bit, learn that depending the soil or where the sugar cane is from,
Talk about
the
terroir, the
yeah it
French.
I had tried a rum that was made in Mexico, and it had a
Okay.
very more of a tequila kind of taste.
Yeah, I haven't. I need to. I wanted to get around trying that. I tried in a couple of tastings some Mexican rum to say so, but yeah, it's quite pungent. I think it's quite like vegetal, if I remember correctly. But I never bought a bottle, so I never reviewed one.
Right,
Um, I think terroir or where the sugarcane is made at, it counts more when the main material is the sugarcane juice itself, rather than being molasses, like agricole rums from Martinique, for example. Like, depends where the sugarcane will be on the island, or what type of sugarcane it is.
right,
It actually imparts the final flavor because it's the whole thing. It's the juice, is the plant itself. But with molasses, because it's been processed, I wouldn't say it doesn't matter at all what type of molasses or where it came from, but it's very, in my opinion, I think it's very insignificant. Like, if it's made out of molasses, it's many islands import the molasses anyway, so it's not like they make it themselves.
right.
So yeah, it's little to no influence at all. It's just when it made out of sugarcane juice. So the whole thing, the sugar, yeah.
Right. And that was something that your website, and we're going to talk about a little bit about the website here in a minute. Um, but some of that, you've got great information, or maybe it's a good lead into it. But your website's got a lot of great information about that. And then even when we were talking earlier before the show, um, just some of those, I guess, rules, regulations, what's deemed, like you just said there, is what is officially considered rum versus, you know, somebody may call it rum. You know, there's actually standards and actually quote unquote rules, I guess, right?
Yeah, you talking about the flavor things, or
Yeah, yeah. I think you mentioned it was something. I think you mentioned was I wrote down. Um, oh well, something about how much of it has to be made from molasses or. But I think my point is the the like you said, a lot of places may get molasses from a particular place. You know, obviously that's an ingredient that goes into making rum.
yeah,
But everybody, maybe multiple companies may use the same molasses company. Let's say I don't know if that's true or not, uh, but then what they do it from there is obviously what turns turns their own product. But like you said, there's not many rum companies that actually make their own, uh, grow their own sugar or whatnot. So, but
I mean, yeah, there are other companies that don't even make their own rum. They just source it from the Caribbean or other countries and make their own blends. And yeah, nothing bad with that. Don't get me wrong, from my point of view. But yeah, they need to like, I don't know, specifically specify that they didn't actually make it. If anything, you know, they can say where they took it from, maybe, but that's their own blend or their own take on it, which
right,
is yeah, fair enough.
yeah. So talk about the website. So the website here, let me go ahead and make sure I say it right. Is the Rum Barrel .co.uk. So,
Yeah,
so if you everybody go check everybody if you're watching on the live stream, check out
yeah,
the website after.
get in there. Yeah,
Yeah, wait till
give me
after
the
or I
just
guess you can
read
open
it
up
off.
in multiple browser tabs. I guess if you're watching on your computer. Um, but yeah, so I was going through it just again last night and looking over some stuff, and yeah, you got a lot of great information, a lot of good educational stuff. The articles as well. But you want to talk about, I guess I know you, like I said, you posted a couple articles, which I think is cool. We'll talk about those, the couple. The talk about the scoring system that you have, or is it something that you kind of came up with, or is it kind of a standard, or
Um, well, after as I told you before, I've been pushed to do the website by some people in the rum logging industry to say so. And when I did the website, um, and finalized everything, I didn't have a scoring system. I was just like, conclusion, yeah, this is good, this is not bad, this is worse, and all that. And again, pretty much the same kind of people were like, this is not good enough, mate. We need a scoring system. People love scoring systems.
right,
They need to see numbers. I was just like, okay, but then everyone has a scoring system, and I don't want to look like I'm copying everyone. Like, I don't know, people did it already, so I had to do something somehow different, my own kind of thing. Otherwise, yeah, I just post 1 star, 3 stars, 5 stars, and all that. Like, I wanted something, I don't know, a bit more special, to say
right,
so. So yeah, I just what I did, I just split a 100 points score into three categories. So that'll be the aroma and the taste and everything, basically how good it is when you actually drink it. That pretty simple. Another category was value for money. So if you actually buy it, are you getting your money's worth or not? Or, but again, it's quite subjective. Like it's from my point of view.
right,
But keep in mind, I'm not particularly wealthy, so I think it's fairly, it's it's for the average customer
right.
basically.
No,
And
that's great because yeah, not all of us have.
no, yeah, I mean, are you willing to pay that much for a limited run of 200 bottles? But then is it good enough or not? Because people go crazy for the limited stuff. Oh no, you can't find this anymore. After it's gone, it's gone. So, oh no, I have to have some. The
So
fear of missing out, basically.
right. So Alex, maybe what we've got to push for here is so all everybody who makes rum out there, send Alex free rum, and also send me some too.
Oh yeah, please, no problem. You can leave my address in the link,
Yeah, yeah.
description. Yeah. And the third one, which maybe slightly more controversial for some, will be the transparency or how pure the rum itself is. Because and it's true on pretty much any industry, there are very dodgy companies that produce very dodgy juice, and people have no idea about it, or they don't want to know. There's that as well, and I just like, okay, if I find easy information about it, very transparent, no problem. If I can Google it, find everything that I need to find, that's fine by me. Also, if it's pure or not, so if it has anything added post distillation besides aging in a barrel and probably a little bit of caramel coloring, I'm good with it. But then if you start adding, I don't know, syrups, any kind of sweeteners, even flavorings, like chemical stuff that you do not say. If you say, let's say it's a spice rum, sure, no problem. I get it. It has to be flavored anyway. But if it's not, then you flavor it. Then I will have a problem with it, and I'll point it out in the score as well. So instead of making a full score of 1 to 100 and just say this number, I'm kind of breaking down and showing why is that number, like straight from the start, basically.
So yeah, and so that's yeah. I never thought think about it that way. Is just because it's darker, necessary that or it could still be a you know, I know there's a lot of controversy, and I was reading about that the article about oh maybe that's the rum company calling right now. So so give me 1 second.
No problem.
Well, that was a first.
That's fair enough.
I nobody it's like nobody ever calls on the landline anymore. So you know so
Those
maybe
still
it's
exist.
yeah,
Still
I know.
around.
I maybe I'm showing my age here, and that I'm saying that it's uh, I still do have a landline. So
America needs to catch up. Do you guys have contactless yet? I, I think there was, yeah.
hold on. So if I need to go look up something, a phone number, let me go find the phone, big phone book, the yellow pages.
Oh yeah, Jesus. I remember those. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was fun. It was fun looking your name or someone else's name. See, are they
yeah.
there?
So so Alex, so we got a few folks here in the chat. Gareth Bell. Um,
Oh, I know, Gareth.
yep. So he's praising a lot of your stuff here and your reviews. So great. He's been adding some information here about some additional rum, talking about and I'm going to probably say this incorrectly, Mohoba from South Africa.
MOBA.
Moba grow their
I think
own
MOBA.
cane and distill the juice. It's an agricole, I would say
Agricole.
agricole style distilled cane juice, but not a province of France, so it can't be called agricole. So that's interesting. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of people don't even know about that. That are into the rum is some of those different, and I'm sure other spirits have very similar bourbon versus the different styles of bourbon here in the U.S. or whiskey. Um, so yeah, so you mentioned, yeah, I think Alex's scoring system is very good, practical. It examines value, which most don't consider, especially if they get their samples free. That's true. So
Well,
yeah, and here's another Charlene that says expensive rum that tastes gross is not worth it. I'll take cheap, tasty rum every time.
I mean, yeah, I guess anyone.
Right. Well, especially that that was that was my wife chiming in. So as she reminds me, her money her money is her money, my money is her money. So yeah, so it's
That's right.
right.
Yeah, that's why I'm single. I'm,
Yes.
no, it's not by
So
choice.
yep. So yeah. So thanks everybody for keep the comments coming there. We'll bounce back and forth and answer some questions there and so forth. But So
I
yeah.
mean,
So I guess to answer your question, Gareth, yes. I don't know, Alex, if you've got the YouTube page up or not, but to see the chat. But if not, I'll relay the questions to you.
nice.
Yep, yep. So yeah, the website where so the scoring system, that's excellent. For those that are, want to take a look at that, they kind of get an idea if you're really wanting to get into rum and take it serious. Also, the articles you posted here, I think there's kind of some interesting ones. One was um, the one you posted at the end of December, titled "The Benevolence of the Rum World." So
Yeah.
what kind of inspired you to write about that? And it was interesting to see some of those companies um, that you listed kind of do some good and give back to the community or to the greater good.
Well, in the rum blogging, again, I'll just call it industry. The rum blogging industry is a huge. Basically, at the end of every year, everyone makes the top of rums they've tried or released from that year and stuff like that. And again, because I don't like to be the same, although I wish I could be the same, like some people. I just didn't do one. I prefer to make a list of companies that did, from what I've known. Obviously, I've probably missed a few that have done good in that year, basically. So just like anything from charity to environmental sustainability to anything that basically they went out of their way to not just make money, but actually give back as well. So I thought it was, especially after a dreadful year, to say so, I thought it was nice to just like point out that these companies or these people exist. So, because yeah, there's, don't get me wrong, there's nothing, let's say, world changing in there.
Right.
It's just most of those are quite small companies as well, which is even more admirable. But yeah, they did their bit basically. They tried their best to actually give back and you know sacrifice profit over
Right.
charity or
Yeah.
anything like
Eh,
that. So
yeah, and most companies wouldn't necessarily need, or they're not obviously not looking for something in return, or like you know
I mean,
you know
to be fair, charity is always a good marketing PR. Like you cannot deny that, even on purpose or not.
right.
But yeah, nobody asked me to do it. Basically, I just did it from my own. Nobody ever told me, oh, by the way, you should write about what we did or stuff like that. Or no, I was just like, I was in the shower. It just came to me. So yeah, I just did it.
It,
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Nothing major. Just a
right.
couple of companies that did well.
Right.
And I'll probably write a part two this year if things go well.
Very cool. The and then the other article that I was reading is your favorite rum a rum? And I know this would probably, kind of for folks to kind of look at rum maybe differently. I thought I as well. But it's interesting on your delineation of the rums that you mentioned in there. So
But first, I want to point out that I tried really hard not to be condescending in there, not to sound condescending. Because yeah, at the end of the day, I don't want that. That's not my goal. But yeah, it's basically taking the issue between rum and spice rum or flavored rums. So if someone comes to me and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge rum drinker," and this is how I started the article as well, and I'll be like, "Okay, what do you like?" Because I love rum as well. And then they tell me, I don't know, Kraken or Malibu or stuff like that, and I'll be like, "Yeah, but it's not. You're a flavored rum drinker. If anything, you're a spice rum drinker. That's not how we should. You shouldn't put it in the same category. Stuff that's been made and put in a barrel and then bottled, beef next to stuff that had been made, maybe put in a barrel, then added God knows what flavorings, natural or not. You know, that's a whole. You can categorize that after you separate these two, and then just also call it rum, just rum, if it makes sense. So I'm not happy with that. I'm not happy when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge rum drinker," and I just drink Sailor Jerry's. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're a spice rum drinker, no problem with that. Yeah, I always said that the two should be. Uh, okay, I won't say I always said because it wasn't. It's not like I've been born with this. But yeah, it should be two different categories of anything. It's like
Right.
comparing vodka, which is a pure product, with gin, which is technically vodka flavored with juniper and other botanicals or spices. There's neutral alcohol, which is vodka, which is flavored with juniper, which those are two very different categories.
Mm.
And again, funnily enough, flavor categories are one of the best sellers out there. So I don't know how in America is, but in UK, gin was and still kind of is huge. There's like a huge boom with the whole gin category, just going wild, going crazy with sales. Just because, yeah, flavored, mixes well, easy to drink. Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Right.
Now, same with spice rum, which is again is basically the most is what drives the rum sales. Which
Right.
I
Yeah.
won't say overall. If you were to separate them, it wouldn't be the same thing. Yeah, because everyone put in the same category, it'd be like, oh yeah, rum sales are on the sale, are on the rise. Sorry, but then if you look at the numbers, that's driven by the flavor slash spice rums
So
sales.
in yeah, in the U.S. and obviously a large, marketing for pretty much any type of product, but specifically speaking, yeah. And that's one of the beautiful things about starting the podcast, meeting people like yourself, and meeting rum distillers, or I guess kind of craft distillers because of their size that they produce, and just yeah, there's it's I again I when I started this off with this, um, I have so much right, still so much to learn too, but there's a lot out there, even here in the U.S. And again, because of the internet, social media, etc., and connecting with folks, like wow, okay, there's a company here, a company, and again, everyone makes their product different, and and they make different, to your point, different types of products, and but yeah, most people probably wouldn't know that this a certain type of rum, right? There's flavored rums, and for certain folks now, I don't know, Alex, is it maybe more fair to say that because of the flavored rums helps with selling, or making and selling cocktails versus, and I asked somebody this question the other day about, you know, using good, I was asking Jamie a couple podcasts ago from Jamie Smith from Jacobite Spirits up there in Scotland. You know, if it's a type of rum that's maybe a few more dollars, a little bit more, or not typically your one that you would mix or people would mix with. Like I know that's a whole nother thing too. Mixing good, quote unquote, whatever we call good, whether it's the people look at the dollar amount or the actually the good of the product, is mixing that with something, and then all of a sudden you're changing that taste. So I know that I'm sure that is an interesting, your thoughts on that when if you took something that you would normally drink neat or on a ice ball, but yet somebody goes and makes a mixed drink with it.
I mean, it really depends. Well, I'm a cocktail bartender, so it really depends what you're looking to, highlight with the said drink. That's how you can choose your spirit and what kind of spirit or how high class. A general rule of thumb is if you're looking at the same category, more expensive is better. Like the no, sorry, not that. The better the spirit, the better will be the cocktail, regardless. But the ratio at that goes, at which that goes between price and quality when you mix it, when you dilute it, is different. So you might get better value for a cheaper product, which is quite decent, than if you buy something uber expensive. So it is this expensive, but then your cocktail is just this much better. It makes sense.
Right.
So just by a little margin. But as a rule of thumb, the better the spirit, the better will be the cocktail as well. It depends what exactly you're looking for to use or what flavor profiles you're looking for. But if it fits the bill, yeah, just do it. Like why not?
Right.
I'm mixing 40 pounds rum. with syrup and other stuff, and I'll make an old fashioned. It will be delicious because old fashioned is mostly the spirits anyway. But if you're mixing in, let's say, pineapple juice, it will still be great, but the value the value for money of the actual drink, the cocktail goes down. The quality is still up, you know.
Right. And I guess using some of those, making cocktails that are made more from a natural natural flavors or adders to, like, so I was just thinking there, and I want to get your thoughts on, if I came into your bar and you asked that question, and I know how to answer it now, uh, is said, I make me a mojito, right? And again, if I had no uh, preferred rum, what would, just an example, what would you think, you'd serve me a mojito if I came into your bar?
I mean, honestly, if you didn't show any interest in what rum to be used, I'll just use the house, man. Like, if you don't, mojito is not particularly the kind of drink where you start asking, or maybe if you really want to upsell something,
Right.
but you don't start asking what kind of rum would you like, or do you have any preference on the rum? It's a fairly, I don't know how to say it. It doesn't rely that much on the spirit as it is on the lime and the mint, basically.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it could be wildly different with different kinds of rums, like easily. But when people ask for mojitos, usually they're expecting one thing, and that's usually achievable with a real house rum.
Right.
If you come to me and ask for old fashioned, for example, which is more spirit driven, then I'll start asking, okay, what kind of, usually people have it with bourbon, but I'll put it out there, be like, well, okay, what kind of spirit? Because it can virtually be made with any spirit, even gin.
Right.
What kind of, and you choose your spirit and be like, okay, what kind of style from that spirit? Do you like scotch? Do you like bourbon, for example? If it's whiskey, if it's rum, okay, do you like something sweeter? Do you like something a bit more pungent? Any countries? What do you usually drink? I'll go through a whole like questionnaire just because I don't know what you like. I know what I like.
Right.
It's easy. That's why I prefer to make my own old fashions. But I don't know what you like, so I'll have to like basically have you answer a couple of questions, and hopefully you will actually enjoy because at the end of the day it will be your choice.
Right.
So
And
I'm really,
that's, yeah, the old fashioned, rum old fashions has become, a go to thing that I'll ask for. Uh,
they,
ha-
they are beautiful and well made. They're beautiful, yeah.
yeah, and most people don't think about it. Say, yes, let me have a rum old fashioned, or however I would say it, and they're like, rum, because again, most people, even some of the bartenders, and again, depending, I guess, what bar, uh, the type of place you're going to where they're slinging drinks, and they may not even have thought, or they're just serving whatever you ask for rather than trying to give you a good product. And again, I think depends on the establishment. And but yeah, a rum old fashioned with some rum that's not obviously a flavored. It could taste very much like a whiskey or a bourbon old fashioned or something to that effect too.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of rums that have a lot of bourbon influence, like bourbonish taste, but only because people don't associate rum as being dry and driven. They associate rum as being sweet and syrupy.
Right.
Whereas bourbon, because it has its, standards and regulations, it's always, and they're being enforced as well. It's always the same kind of flavor profile. Whereas rum is wildly different, and the most well-known one, they're the ones that are actually being sweetened and stuff like that. But if you will go to Barbados to say, for example, if you ask for a rum old fashioned, you always get the same style, just like you would get with a bourbon. It's nothing. For me, rum doesn't taste like bourbon. Rum tastes like the country it came from. For me, rum tastes like Barbadian rum or Jamaican rum.
Right.
And yeah, that's how I'm expecting it to be. So if I go to a bar and they'll ask me, what kind of rum would you like? If I ask for an old fashioned, I won't say I want a bourbon tasting one, a bourbon, you know,
Type.
profile one.
Right.
I'll say I want a Barbados rum. Most of the time that'll be pretty much the same thing. But I don't like it when, and that's me. I don't. a bit of rant. I don't like it when rum it's compared to other spirits as like it would be surprising that it could actually be as good as other spirits, if it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that makes sense because I think to that point, yeah. And you mentioned there about the bourbon, and this was something that you said you mentioned the other day when we were chatting. Um, Again, I didn't know this, and I thought was a very interesting piece of information you passed along was talking about how um, the barrels, bourbon barrels, had to be aged in virgin oak. Did I get that right?
The bourbon has to be aged in virgin oak barrels, yes.
Right. And I don't. Again, most people that probably consume bourbon may not even know that, and how back to we were talking earlier about some of the rules or regulations or whatever you call it, that yeah, once that barrel's used, it let's say quote unquote the Jim Beams or whoever of the world no longer can use that barrel, and thus why rum and other things use bourbon barrels because they're so readily accessible due to that fact.
Yeah, so yeah, for probably all the spirits in the world, including tequila, for example, they're gonna age something and they're gonna most likely do it in bourbon barrels. Everything else is pretty much nowadays anyway, it's pretty much almost an experiment because everything else would be more expensive unless you have a company that owns both, let's say, I don't know, a Scotch distillery and a cognac distillery. They can just exchange barrels, it'll probably be cheaper. But overall, because yeah, bourbon has to be only aged in virgin oak, which means they can only use the barrel once. They make a new barrel, they put the new make spirit in it, corn spirit, whatever you want to call it, and then it becomes bourbon because it's aging. Well, not just that, but mainly because it's aged in virgin oak cask. So after that cask has been emptied, that cask cannot be used again to make another bourbon. It can be used to make another American whiskey, but you cannot call it bourbon if the cask has been already used once. And so yeah, they sell it very cheap, or they again barrel exchanges or stuff like that. So yeah, most of the bourbons, sorry, most of the rums will be aged in ex-bourbon casks, and most of the even yeah tequilas, scotches, they use that. Um, yeah, it's just the most, as you said, readily available
Right.
uh, type of cask on the market, and it's really cheap compared to others.
Right. Yeah, that was something that I mentioned to somebody, and they're like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah." So you don't know what goes into some of the some of these nuances, or again, most people may not be super invested or knowledge, or again, unless they're enthusiasts of any of those types of things, wouldn't know some little bit of tidbit about that. What Yeah, like I said, I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't. You can't have reused bourbon barrels and so forth. Obviously, why we have so much what do you call it? Uh, Beer bourbon barrel. There's a lot of that now too. So I think there, Alex. Another thing was kind of cool. Some knowledge you had on your website was the name for um, Pussers rum. Came from right the Royal Navy slang for purser, the ship's supply officer who was in charge of supplying the rum on the ship. So it's like, oh, kind of cool. And again, I think it's kind of cool, how companies do their homework, come up with the name of their rum or their products. Have a little bit of a history and a meaning behind it. So that was kind of a little bit of an interesting little tidbit that I did not know. I've seen the rum. To be honest, I don't think I can say that I have actually tried it. I've seen it here. Again, walking into a liquor store here in is almost like sometimes, yeah, where do you start, because there's so many options.
Yeah, buses. To be honest, I was quite baffled about the name as well until I actually read about it. It's a good marketing point from their point of view because the story goes like I can't remember his name because I'm terrible. But basically, someone wanted after they ended the rum rations in the UK, like Navy rum was such a like rum in the Navy was such a big thing. And after they ended the rum rations, someone just went and be like, okay, I want the recipe because I want to bottle this for all the veterans that missed the. Obviously, they won't sell it to anyone really. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But all the Royal Navy veterans that retired and missed the Royal Navy runs, and that's what they did. And it's kind of funny because they have more expressions. It's not just the one that's supposed to be the Royal Navy accurate rum is the Pusser's gunpowder proof, which is clocked at 54.5% ABV, which is actually the Navy strength. So that means at the time it was overproof. Everything that's over that would be overproof. Hence the term overproof for like rums like Ray Nephew, for example. And but the recipe, I think the original recipe had Guyana and Trinidad rum, if I'm not mistaken. But now, because of some issues that are out of their hand, basically, they're only sourcing rum from Guyana. So they're now, I would say, they're not doing rum for after a specific recipe. They're more like doing the rum after a specific flavor profile because they literally cannot source what apparently was in their recipe that they got at the time. Also, Royal Navy recipe, it changed over time, plenty of times. It was, again, just like Pussers, it was a matter of availability. So it's not like they could always take the same rum over and over again because some countries didn't make it anymore or didn't have the supply or didn't have or it wasn't good enough at the time. So they had to like source it from other places. I don't, I've read all about this from another source of information online. He's called the Cocktail Wonk. His name is Matt Pitrick, and he did very extensive research on the whole Royal Navy history, recipes, what it was not, or the debunked myths and stuff like that. So yeah, if you look up Cocktail Wonk and anything Royal Navy, it'll show up, and you can read all about it. It's quite fascinating, and I won't pretend I'm an expert just because I'm literally telling you what I read from his website. But yeah, it's very interesting to see how Navy rums
Right.
try to market themselves these days because most of them are just like full of caramel and which they probably did as well.
Right.
But yeah,
To mask maybe some of that original taste to some rum that probably was very not the greatest tastings, obviously, thus adding all the additional sugars and flavoring and well, yeah, I think that kind of wasn't that how the hurricane was invented, right, in New Orleans with all the high levels of sugar and fructose and all that, so I don't know if you know the history of how the hurricane drink was supposedly invented.
To my embarrassment, no.
Okay, yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
a good one.
I
Is
know what a
yeah,
hurricane, I know what a hurricane is, but I've made it so rarely that I didn't have actually looked into it.
all right. So maybe get himself another article coming up there
Yeah,
and a little
you
bit
just
of
schooled me, yeah.
yeah. So I didn't mean to throw stump you there, but yeah, it was just
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah.
yeah, it was like without giving too much, but it was invented. I guess Pat O'Brien's is a place in New Orleans, and they, there's history in how it was formed, and again, even down there, how the glass, the plastic, you drink out of it, and so that so it's an interesting yeah. So if you do a little research on that and look up that, and it's kind of cool. Again, back to the point. Yeah, the history on some of these things that kind of you find interesting about drinking and history. That should be our new show, Alex. Maybe we need to do a little spin-off of called Drinking and History.
I'll have to read more then. But yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
It's funny because many of the drinks and many of the histories, to say so, or origins, they're not exactly accurate. Like they're always like supposedly that happened,
Right.
but because it makes it sound so romanticized and so like ideal. Like, oh yeah, we just wanted to make a twist on something, and they just like did that, and we called it Negroni, and it's just like, really? Are you sure? Like again, I'm not one to like argue history.
Right.
I'm not that well informed, but many of the cocktails, many of the background stories of the trains, they're yeah, they're not particularly accurate.
Well,
They're like marketing basically. They just like made to sound good.
right.
But yeah, nobody will say someone just came up with this in their basement and tried to sell it to everyone. Stuff like that. You know.
Well, like the song that we use for our feature, our mid show on the podcast feature, the backing track
Yeah, I heard
there.
that one. I don't know that song.
What's that?
I don't know that song. I heard it.
Yeah.
It was like I need to look it up actually.
Yeah, no, that is Once Upon a Bottle of Rum is the name of the song. And it is by a good friend of mine, fellow podcaster here locally here in Florida with me, to me, is Brad Brock. And he spent a lot of time on cruise ships playing, as a performer. He's a soloist, guitarist, writer, songwriter, etc. And he traveled all over, seen many things. And of course, you can only imagine being a musician on a cruise ship. What type of stories you probably would have. All these different Caribbean places or Europe or etc. And he wrote that song. Once upon it, you're just talking about there how people come up with stuff and say, this is how. Once upon a bottle of rum, this is how. The history of this or this how the story goes kind of thing. So yeah. So but speaking of that, so Brad Brock, check it out. He's out in Spotify and iTunes and all sorts of things, as well as he's got a podcast. Good friends of ours, Jams and Cocktails. He does a live show Wednesday nights over on Facebook and YouTube, so you can check that out. He's got great local musicians and guests, others that are other musicians as well too. So it's a great show. He's also got a very much a alcohol-based show, and so.
I see a pattern there.
Yeah.
Jams and cocktails, drums and rums.
Yeah.
Okay, music and alcohol. Yeah, we can work with this. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He had me on as a guest. I think it was back in November, and I had him on as a guest. And he is he's a one-man band, plays guitar, sings, and also uses his feet to do drum percussions and things with pedals, like drum pedals and electronic stuff. So it makes it sound like he's playing with a full band, based on how he has it set up. So when I saw him, I said, "Yeah, I gotta have you on the show because that's drum stuff, and what you're doing there is you're not only trying to play guitar and sing, but you're also having to keep moving your feet around to play the drum parts and so forth." But yeah, so that's what that song. But speaking of the song, and why we mentioned it was Alex, and for those that have not checked out, so if you're checking out the live stream here for the first time, or if you're listening for the first time to our podcast, and episode 30 was our first podcast episode where Alex is our mid-show rum reviewer. So we look to do more collaboration with Alex in his rum reviews, and work together on some of the rum reviews, because obviously you know a lot more about rum and give people a better sense of it than I can. So I appreciate you for the collaboration. So a lot, looking forward to more as well too. So
Yeah, no problem. If I get to drink and talk about it, it's fine.
yeah. Well, speaking of that, I know Garrett was, I know this was a little bit ago now. Garrett was kind of giving us a little bit of a rubbing here, Alex, about, says we're talking about all this stuff, and he doesn't see any of the two of us having anything to drink. So I think it might be time that I'm gonna make myself a little cocktail here. I picked this up. I have not even opened it yet, so I'm probably going to struggle with opening it up. So I picked up the Santa Teresa here.
Nice. You said you haven't had it before, did you?
I have not. Like, so you can tell I haven't even opened it yet. So
It's probably one of the best Venezuelan rums out there. Yeah.
this might be a challenge here. So maybe I should have thought ahead here on how to get the wax off the bottle. I'm gonna make a mess here. So while I'm trying to get, feverishly trying to open up this rum here, which this bottle, teeth. I don't know. Garrett, I guess I do have well. I just had some dental work done that I don't want to have to spend more money on that. So
No, you're doing well, I guess. If a
yeah,
customer saw me opening a bottle like that, it wouldn't be
yeah,
it would be a lot of yeah. I wouldn't inspire a lot of confidence in my
yeah,
job.
right. Like, hey, do you even know what you're doing? Yeah. So good thing. Yeah, good thing I'm at home here. All
Just
right,
kill it
almost
like
there.
a boiled egg.
Yeah, almost there.
Nice.
It's actually a little bit of a seal top there. I know. So this makes for great. Probably doesn't makes great for the pot the video here, but probably not so much on the podcast where people have to if you're watching on the pod or listening on the podcast and you haven't seen our live video of our episode here, make sure you go back and see what's going on at this point in the podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
The visual effect, the visual effect is more important. So all right, so even I did at least come prepared. And so what do you recommend, neat or with the cube?
I would always say first try neat and then put a cube in. So just so you get the whole experience, and then you can, dilute it or chill it or. Should I try to nose something as well?
There you go. We could pretend we're drinking the same thing. So here you go. Hold on. So cheers.
Cheers.
Ding.
What do you think?
It's pretty good. It's not. I love just sometimes holding it in my mouth and just kind of tasting that flavor.
Hmm.
There's times.
For everyone that's listening, he's trying Santa Teresa 1796, which is a rum that's coming from Venezuela, and it's aged via Solaris system. It doesn't have any age statement, so all good. Should be quite nice.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice rum, quite elegant. Nothing too crazy, so it's not like it's not gonna slap you in the face when you drink it. It's gonna.
Sorry.
Okay, that one.
There you go. It was a little delayed. Sorry.
It's all right. No, it's quite. Usually, it's quite gentle, and still quite. How can I say? Fairly complex for a Latin style, to say so, rum.
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely. Yeah, it's definitely good. Good. Yeah, and that's. I think that's the biggest misconception. Like you said, it's not. Yeah, is not all rum is sweet. Not all rum is super sugary. Yes, rum is made from sugar, but it doesn't have to be. Taste like your teeth are gonna fall out from it.
Well, I mean, and I think I said this before, and I will say it as many times as I have to. One, everything is made out of sugar because you need sugar to ferment, and you need that fermented wash to distill in order to achieve to get a spirit. So it's just different types of sugar. So rum, yeah, is made out of molasses, which has the sugar content, and after you distill it, I'm just going to point this out very precisely. Sugar is not a volatile component, sugar does not evaporate. Therefore, sugar does not go into the distilled final product. The only sugar that will find in there is the sugar that you'll get from either adding it, obviously, just someone just gonna, drop a bunch of syrup in it. It happens. Or if you were talking very minimalistically, you can get sugar from the aging in a barrel. But that's, from what I know, less than I don't know 1 gram of sugar per liter basically. So it's very, very, yeah. You cannot. It doesn't do anything even if you measure it, unless you have very high grade chemical equipment. It is not going to show up. So it's just
Right.
from the barrel, because the barrel does impart some sugars and some vanillin or some other substances that that is required for the aging process. That's why you age it to begin with.
Right.
You know. But yeah,
So
sugar does not pass through distillation at all, no matter what it's made of. You can distill pure, I'll say that. You can distill pure syrup, pure caster sugar, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to be sweet at the end. You're going to, worst case, you're going to perceive it as sweet due to its aroma, but it's not going to be on the palate, it's going to be your nose, because some acids or some esters or some different components do have a sweet smell. It's like, let's say, I don't know if you ever tried vanilla vodka.
uh,
It's like,
yeah, right. Yep.
yeah, but it's not sweet vanilla vodka. It's just vodka that's been flavored with some kind of vanilla essence. That's not sweet. So if you taste it, it's not actually sweet, but you just feel the vanilla, you smell the vanilla through your
Right.
nose, and it kind of gives it like a sweet thing. But once you taste it, your palate's gonna be like, this is not what you're expecting, man. This is not what. So yeah, you can perceive sweetness with your nose or aroma, but you won't taste anything sweet if stuff is made out of sugar. Because again, all alcohol is made out of sugar. You need alcohol to start fermentation. That's how it works.
Yeah. There's a in the chat here. VZ Bucks. Um,
I don't know that one.
yeah. So he I think he let's see, or he. I'm sorry if he. I know. I'm not being a good very person here, assuming that it's you're a he. My apologies.
How dare you?
I'm saying shame on me. But VZ Bucks has said Rum Barrel is one of my go-to reviews when I'm thinking that they mentioned about thinking about buying new bottles. So you've got
Oh, really?
yep. So you got a fan there, a follower. So use it helps you help them guidance on what to go purchase. And this is I can drink. So we were talking here, and I think we got to move over here. Music and alcohol work. They're talking about the gunpowder proof VZ Bucks. I can drink good rum and listen to good music at the same time. I'm totally down with that. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole sub chat conversation going on here and going and
I have
talking
to
about
check it out after.
yeah. They're talking about some very similar things that you were mentioning about the barrels and distillation process. So, but but speaking about music there, right? So you know, so you got to mention that you got a very diverse range of music, but you do enjoy some old school hip hop. So to you, how old is old school hip hop? Since you already
Well,
were giving me a hard time about a telephone.
um, so, okay, something I don't think I actually mentioned. I'm Eastern European. I'm Romanian. Not here anyway. I didn't mention here. So I come from Romania, and just back there, I was used to listen exclusively to Romanian hip hop
Hmm.
because I couldn't be bothered to listen to anything else. Basically, it was the time where you're pirating everything. So I was pirating all the music, and I was like, I cannot be bothered to start pirating across the board music. So I'll just keep to the local ones. Say so. So I would say early 2000 or even earlier, if it makes sense. But I was, never say no to newer hip hop either. It just like mostly was the one from my country. And then when I moved, I I lost track of what was what. I didn't listen to stuff anymore, so I was just like going on YouTube and listening to whatever it was recommended, and yeah, I just do my thing basically. So yeah, if people expecting any kind of musical insight from me, yeah, that's not. Let's stick to the rum because that's not my forte. It just I listen to whatever. Like YouTube recommends me something, I'll press on. If I like it, fine. If not, I'll probably still let it play because I'm
Right.
too lazy to change it.
And yeah, if you enjoy old school hip hop, with one of our previous guests, Jamie Bennett, he is rap artist, hip hop artist. He's definitely got more of that old school feel of like '80s hip hop style and '80s '90s. And his group is Royal Ruckus is the name of their group. So yeah, if you're interested in, you can check out Royal
Yeah,
Ruckus and Jamie stuff. So
always, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I totally, yeah, I can see how, music changes so quick, and the styles, what's in and what comes back around 20 years later, and it changes, or again it's back in style, and I think we all agree good music is good music is good music, and
Yeah.
that will always stand the test of time.
I get those people that are fanboys of like a particular band or stuff like that, but no, I just listen to anything I like basically. To put in my playlist. I don't even know the name of the song. I just put in my playlist and listen to it whenever it pops
Right.
on. So just yeah, I'm a
So
fanboy of distilleries, not music bands. Yeah.
right, yeah, styles, types, and yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I, and I've talked about this before on the podcast where I could have the age wrong, but it's I think when you're in your late 20s, you kind of lock in what your music is you're going to stay at for, on average, most people. Not everyone, of course. I don't probably hard seek out new music unless I stumble across it or something. An upcoming guest, you know, they had mentioned a song here, a group that's out of Texas and super soulful. They're called the Sufferers, and the artist, the lead singer, she's just gotten a phenomenal voice, and so forth. But yeah, I've got a pretty decent range. And again, growing up in the '80s and some of that early stages of some of the hip hop, and again, like you talked about, rum has, there's rum, and then there's subgenres or groupings of rums, just like music too, right? There's
Yeah,
rock and
yeah.
roll and different kinds of levels of rock and roll, right? It's only rock and roll, but I like it. I think that was I think that's the line in the song. So what would you say, going back to, is the most interesting part of what you do, you know, uh, to make your product or promote your brand.
I mean, the main thing I do to promote my brand is just going to rum events or like rum, yeah, tastings, events, rum festivals, stuff like that. So mostly just, long story short, just getting myself out there
Right.
and start talking with different producers or different brand ambassadors face to face, or fellow reviewers or bloggers or anything like that. So socializing with people with the same kind of mindset is actually very satisfying, to be fair. And also, having the opportunity to try stuff I normally wouldn't if I wasn't into this, if it makes sense.
Right.
So it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, Alex, I have this new rum. I think you like it. Don't get me wrong, I rarely get like very exclusive stuff, but when it happens, I'm over the top. So yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, all the people in this industry, most of the people in this industry, I won't say all, because there's always like oddball. But yeah, most of the people in this like industry or like with this interest of rum, basically rum drinkers or rum enthusiasts, however you want to call it, they're awesome. They're simply great. Like everyone's just like so cool and so chill and so willing to share their rum and their spirits and their collection and stuff like that, including myself, obviously. So yeah, how then hashtag on social media. It might sound cringe, but it is hashtag rum fam.
Mm, okay.
So basically, rum family is like yeah, everyone just likes to have kind of similar views on how rum is or should be or what to like or what not and stuff like that. All those people are bloody amazing. honestly. Yeah, I just love it. I just love being part of like kind of like the community, if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally does. Because even talking with Jamie from Jacobite, and again, they're a very new company startup. A bunch of him and 4 or 5 other really good buddies of his, just got this idea. Hey, let's start making rum, and really close knit guys, like I said, and and you mentioned the same thing was this community of rum or maybe craft rum or distilling spirits, etc. Everyone's very open and to share. And he's provided some really good input and given to me on certain groups to join on social media, to even some feedback about formatting the podcast, which led to now the mid-show rum review, because obviously previous podcast
Nice. Yeah.
up to that point where I always struggle with how do I fit the rum part into it, whether I'm talking with somebody who makes rum or I'm talking with a musician, and how to I've always shared this story many times for those that listen, so you can hit the skip button or 15-second jump if you want. um, is the second episode I had done, we drank a whole bottle of rum during this sitting, and it was like probably the most edit. I had to do so much editing on that podcast because again we just kind of rambled on for almost 3 hours after drinking a bottle of rum. So I think this is great
That's a
how
quality.
it's this feedback has helped say, hey, split the show up, talk about rum in the middle, do a little review, and again, it gives people a little bit of there's not a monotony of just continuous an hour's worth of yapping, between me and a guest. So
So
I need to
you should do a music review with the rum chest then. Should
that's
do a music review.
I am working on something that
Okay.
I will incorporate, looking to incorporate something from a drums perspective, very similar to a review, rum review, but also adding a component to the podcast. So you're all hearing it first. More details to come, but it is Alex. You pulled it out of me here. So we're
Sorry.
yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right. But yeah, coming up here, we're gonna have some a featured person that is in the drum industry, knowledgeable as heck. So we're still working out some of those details and how to go about it. But yes, so stay tuned to that. So a little sneak peek on more to come on the drums and rum. So we're kind of adding a very robust, hopefully a robust podcast. Everyone kind of finds some interesting things about different aspects of both rums and drums. So I know I'm kind of limited, kind of sticking between two things like that. I know I've been told I'm a little bit niche, but I'm not kind of going out. I want to stay within the bounds of within the name of the podcast, so I don't get too crazy out there. So some people have asked about my podcast with a meteorologist that was end of last year, and I said, well, it was a little bit of a stretch, but the guest's last name was Drum. So, and he's also a good friend of mine too. So I know it was a little stretch, but again, it was an interesting podcast for those. It's not like a Joe Rogan podcast talking to like scientists and while he's
Yeah.
smoking dope, on a podcast. But that's not going to happen on this one. So it's obviously, but so
You never know. You never know.
well, I can't. That's all. Without getting into any more detail, I know I will not be the one. Guess if that's up to them. So that's totally up to them if they want to, indulge a little bit. But so Alex, we start wrapping things up, I do have a little piece, a little segment here. It's typically called in 4 beats or less. Obviously, it's a drum reference, so for our drum guest, it's called 4 beats or less. But for your podcast, and as well as other rum-related podcasts, it is called in 4 sips or less. So this is just a simple.
Okay.
What's that?
Oh, no, I just said okay.
So this is just a simple. It's like a yes or no, or choose this one or that one, and it's got to be the first thing that kind of comes to mind. So, uh, So yeah, no pressure on this one again. And you need a
Never.
few. Yeah. All right. So first one up here. So this is kind of goes to we were talking about old school hip hop. So now that you kind of gave a little bit more background on it, so I'm not sure how this will go, but Beastie Boys or Run DMC.
Probably Beastie Boys.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm just
if you like Beastie Boys, you should check out the documentary that they had. I think it was on Amazon or Apple TV or something. It was a pretty good documentary. The Beastie
okay.
Boys.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So got back to another one here. We talked a little bit about was neat or on an ice ball.
Neat. Almost always neat.
All right.
No
So
doubt.
which rum origin do you fancy? Guyana, Barbados, or UK?
Tough one. I'll go with Barbados.
Okay.
I really love Guyana, but yeah, most of the stuff from Barbados, our continuous releases are better. Whereas from Guyana, they're the stuff that are kind of people just pick them up and choose them and stuff. So
Right.
not as available.
Yeah. Well, Barbados almost is like was like the grandfathers of the rum world, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
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 So, all right. Last one here. Since it's Super Bowl here in the U.S. is tomorrow, so I think I may know the answer to this one, but we'll see if I'm right. Football or football?
Wait, what?
Football or football?
What's the tip? What you have to
Well, okay, so I know. Now, I'm also, I'm, s- I was born here, but both my parents were born in Scotland, so I'm a first generation. So I know it's always funny is that obviously growing up mostly in a soccer, that's the difference, right? So
yeah.
what I'm getting at is I'm trying to make a funny jump here and say American football or football. What the
Oh,
rest of the
okay.
world calls soccer, or we call soccer,
Yeah.
no one calls football.
No, yeah, yeah. No, you got me for a second there. I was just like, wait, what? They have too much rum? Yeah, obviously European, if anything. Yeah, I grew up with that kind of stuff.
You got a team that you are a supporter for, or is that maybe a little too controversial? You want to kind of
Oh no, no, it's just if I were to play it, I'm more than happy, but I don't really watch it. I don't watch any sports. Just it makes me jealous, like all those like fine athletes and all that, and then just me on a couch drinking rum. So yeah, I'll play it, but I'm not praising any teams or stuff like that.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, got football as in the ball you kick, not throw. There you go. Gareth chimed in there with rugby. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. They're like ESP. Well, I take this back. I got to be careful. I know about ready to say something. I was going to disparage uh, rugby, but I didn't mean it. I've been seeing a lot more rugby on TV last year, and other than the fact that I think things that don't normally have been shown on ESPN because live sports had been put to cease a good part of last year, up there with cornhole championship on ESPN, which was like, okay, I guess this is all we got left of, so like the movie Dodgeball with uh, Ben Stiller and I'm drawing a blank on yeah, where it was on the joke is that it was on ESPN the Ocho, which it's a web version of ESPN where only stuff gets shown. There's odd there, but yeah, rugby that's fascinated. Yeah, Gareth, I'm very still not quite sure of all the try to follow the rules and so forth and so forth. Yeah, England rugby starts in 25 minutes. Newcastle, my team. Okay, so I guess we got to wrap up here because we're gonna lose Gareth here to watch the rugby here. So.
Chop
Uh,
chop.
yeah, VZ Buck says, asking when I was asking about who you support, he said just say Manchester City. So, smiley
I
face.
don't want to affiliate myself with anyone, just in case.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Yeah, I know it could always be a very touchy subject, so totally get it.
Yeah, I don't
And
want bad reviews about my website. No.
I like him, but I don't like who he's a supporter of. So,
Yeah. his rum reviews are terrible because he doesn't support my team.
Yeah, right. So,
Sorry.
so yeah, so I, we'll kind of start bringing things to a close here. Totally enjoy, our, I guess for me was a Saturday morning chat here, with you, Alex, and definitely I said we've want to stay. Let's stay. Obviously, we're going to stay connected here with the rum reviews and the podcast. A good friend of mine had this great crazy idea, and I think it's already probably. I'm sure this idea has already been done before, but he said we need to work on a drums and rums cruise. So we go to different islands and obviously tie in some of the different places and so forth. So now obviously I don't control where the boat goes, but I said that would definitely sound like a pretty cool cruise if that was something we can put together. So definitely would have to have you on as our chief rum guy.
Well, you've got my email. So
Yeah. Yeah, once cruises are probably going to be like dirt cheap. Once they formally open back up, man, because everyone's I know dying to go vacationing and at least.
Oh yeah, trust me. I've seen the inside of my room too much. I've only just moved in, so
Oh, jeez.
yeah,
So
it's not great.
so yeah, so Alex, want to go ahead and just plug some of your stuff here before we go ahead and wrap up.
As in links or social media
Yep,
stuff.
all that. Yep, all that.
For Facebook, it's at Alex the Rum Lover, just for the Rum Barrel page. For Instagram, it's at the Rum Barrel. I think on Facebook it was taken, that's why. And everything else is just like the rumbarrel.co.uk. And if anyone has any questions or stuff like that, my email is uh, alex@therumbarrel.co.uk. So that'll be pretty much it. Yeah, thank you for this.
Yeah, you got it. I appreciate you coming on and talking rum and learning a lot about rum products and the different types and how you go about reviewing products and so forth. So, but yeah, I think we, we've got a lot. I'm sure like I said, you're for those listening, you're going to hear more of Alex and the Rum Barrel here, tied in here with drums and rums. And so we'll definitely look forward to it. So this episode, for if you want to go back and listen to the podcast, version of this, will be available on all your favorite podcast locations: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. If you have an Amazon Alexa, you can ask Alexa to play Drums and Rums podcast, and that's even pretty cool. But this episode will be available on Thursday, February 11th, so make sure you check that out. This episode will be posted. Please check out the Drums and Rums podcast and give it a like and a follow. Lots of other great episodes. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram as well. Here on the YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure you follow up on that. Also, check out if you want to peruse around other videos we have on the website. I did a 25 days of rum advent calendar, or rum miss I think I called it, where I a very fun approach to opening up different rums for each day of the week, and just kind of made different cocktails out of them. So definitely check out Alex's website here, the Rum Barrel. He's got a lot of great cocktails that he's posted up there for you to try and actually give some feedback. I saw to some of the comments about how to acquire some of the ingredients or how to make some of the ingredients for those cocktails. So definitely go check out Alex's website. So just one quick check here on the chats here. All right, yes, thanks to everybody. Gareth and Charlene and VZ Bucks. Yep, definitely. Come on over to Florida here for sure. Got a lot of great places here as well too. And thanks, and enjoyed it. So Alex, I appreciate your time this morning or this afternoon for you. So
yeah, no problem. Yeah, it was a pleasure. First time I ever did this, but yeah, I think it went well.
Yeah, I think it went great. So everybody got to watch me try to struggle and open. Like I said, we got a chance to open it up in a decent amount of time. So we'll
You better finish it out.
Yeah.
you can't just leave it there unopened. You know, you have to finish it.
Oh no, 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 don't worry, don't worry. You gotta.
All right.
So,
Okay.
all right,
Yeah, thank
everyone.
you, guys.
I appreciate y'all's time for joining. Thanks for joining us here on the live podcast, and make sure you check out the podcast later on. So, all right, Alex, appreciate it. So, this is Paul from Drums and Rums, where the backbeats meets the spirits. Thanks, all.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thanks, Alex. See ya.